know if you've been paying attention to the news, what's been coming out of the Supreme Court yesterday and today. But I want to talk about what happened yesterday, the Voting Rights Act. They struck down a provision in the Voting Rights Act that stated that states with a history of discrimination had to have federal oversight to change any voting rights laws. Okay. So you had 9 states that have been wanting to change their laws, but the Justice Department kept saying, no, you're not going to do that. So what they did, they went to the Supreme Court with their findings and saying, hey, we don't need those provisions anymore. Look, we got a black president now. The Klan's not lynching nobody anymore. I mean, this country has changed. So that's what they went on their case with. Now, I'm going to read off the names of the states that participated in this, and you're going to be like, this is very typical. The states, number 1 is Alabama, Alaska, Arizona, Georgia, Louisiana, Mississippi, South Carolina, Texas, and Virginia. And they say a score of counties and municipalities in other states, including Brooklyn, Manhattan, and the Bronx as well. So, what does that mean that what they just did? Now, you had, out of all judges, you had the 5 Republicans voted to overturn the Voting Rights Act that black people fought and died for. Black people was terrorized for even trying to register to vote, not even getting to the poll themselves and vote. Black people was killed for trying to organize us to vote in elections. Understand that. There are a lot of people that died. Martin and Malcolm fought for us to have the right to do anything that we wanted to do. And as an American citizen born in this nation, you have a right to vote. Black people fought in every war, way back from the Civil War all the way up to the wars now. Black people have died for this country too. And for you to sit there and try to take away the rights of black people once again, and try to treat them as second-class citizens once again, is wrong. And I, as a black man in America, it's very offensive. Very, very offensive. Because they don't need a bunch of racist people to affect you. That's what a lot of you black people don't realize. You just need a few. And let me throw somebody's name out there. You know one of the justices that voted to destroy the rights and privileges of black people and other minorities as well. And I'm going to get to other minorities too, not just black folks. Clarence Thomas, he voted to take away the Voting Rights Act that had that provision in those particular states. This is why when it comes to house Negroes / coons, they are so dangerous in positions of power because they're going to do anything Massa tell them to do. That individual, Clarence Thomas, was responsible for getting Troy Davis murdered too, he shouldn't have been, by the hands of Georgia. He could have stopped it. He did not. Remember that? Now this. What's going to be next with Clarence Thomas? Affirmative action? What's going to be next after that? What? Want black people slaves again? What? And Clarence Thomas will sit there and do it. That guy right there has been nothing but detrimental. He is an embarrassment. Thurgood Marshall was a good judge that was put in the Supreme Court. And this man has tarnished the image of Thurgood Marshall in the area of black judges on the Supreme Court. Shoot, man, I'm cool with you. Send Judge Mathis to the Supreme Court. I'd be cool with that. Somebody that come across as real. Shoot, send Judge Maybelline. I'd be cool with that too. The TV judges, you can probably get more things out of them than you can get out of Clarence Thomas. But Clarence Thomas is an embarrassment. And he's the biggest Uncle Ruckus in history. To sit there and do that to your own people for a right to vote, an American right to vote. And these southern states, they are so typical. Because aren't you seeing black people that how they are in the South? They don't want us to vote. They don't want us to have nothing. Now, I'm not saying every last person in the South is that way. No. But there's a lot of people in the South that still think backwoods. Listen to the states. Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Georgia, Alabama. All them hot states that things happen to our people in. That the most of the fight was in the southern states. And all the segregation and Jim Crow laws and all this other stuff. Well, what's next? Jim Crow, that's coming back? All that stuff coming back. Because that's the way it's looking like to me. And see, black folks paying for they vote the past 2 times. That's what it is. They don't like that 95% of you came out to vote for President Barack Obama. Oh no, they don't want to see that no more. So they're going to try to suppress your vote by coming up with voter ID laws. You an American citizen with a social security number. That is your ID to say that you have a right to vote. But Texas, the moment they slammed the gavel, Texas enacted a voter ID law immediately. So this is what they're going to try to do in all these states. Well, in order to vote, you got to pay X amount of dollars. And then once you get to the poll, you got to show 3 forms of ID. They can do that, and there's nothing the feds can do about it now. So what Congress must do, Congress must act along with President Obama and get that stuff changed legislatively. Now, before some of you go on a tangent and say, you see how racist them white Republicans are? Well, wait a minute. We got to call a spade a spade. In 2006, a Republican president, a Republican House, and a Republican Senate voted to keep the Voting Rights Act as law. And it was very bipartisan, and nobody voted against it in the Senate at all. Every last one of them was agreement with it. So if they wanted to overturn it in the guise of we hate black folks back then in 2006, with everything controlled by Republicans, then they could have did it then. They did not. So these justices slapped their Republican counterparts in the face in 2006, and the Republican president, they gladly signed that back into law, what they did yesterday. Now, they did not like, the Republicans did not like that Latinos came out to vote for a Democrat Party as well, and that's why Barack Obama is the presidency again. Now, I don't agree with everything Obama has done. I think he's done a whole lot more, but that's not about the video I want to talk about. Now, that woman in Arizona, the notorious Jan Brewer, okay, she hates Mexicans to the core. She don't want them to vote. She don't want them to have nothing. She came out and happy that the Supreme Court did this. And Mexicans, they coming after you now because you ain't gonna be able to do nothing. They hate you too. So some of y'all that say have this issue about, Mexicans don't like blacks and blacks don't like Mexicans, I'm telling both of y'all, they don't like now one of you at all. Especially here in Texas, they were so concerned about the Mexicans here in Texas because Mexicans are coming in here left and right. They know that Mexicans vote Democratic. They don't vote Republican. And they're afraid that Texas is going to turn from a red state to a blue state, all the minorities that's here now. Okay? So they don't want to lose this state, so they're trying to do whatever they can to suppress the vote of blacks and Mexicans here in Texas. And that's sad and that's shameful. And this is nothing but outright discrimination and racism against black people for sure, and also Mexicans as well, because you're going to suffer too. You better, some of you Mexicans that want to be playing that, we can't call you a house Negro, but y'all got a name for it too. That old Uncle Tom type of stuff. Some of y'all like to do that mess to them people. They don't like you either. Every time they see you, they want to call you illegal. Your parents could have been here for generations upon generations, fought and died in wars, but they call you illegal. You better get with the program. Them folks don't like you either. And some of you that want to turn on black folks and say, act like we your enemy. We ain't your enemy. Because we ain't preventing you from working. We ain't calling you names. We ain't trying to say send you back to Mexico and all this other stuff. Black folks ain't doing none of that stuff to you because we don't have the power to do that to you. It's the other folks that's doing that to you. But also, this is a failure of black leadership. A big failure. And what happened today with the gays got what they wanted. And I'm going to tell you why the gays got what they wanted. The gays studied the black civil rights movement and copied it literally to a T. They got out there, they were very active, they were very vocal, and they wouldn't let off of anything. They were protests, they were outcry, they had the political power, they had the lobbyists. Gays has really did it well. I can't complain to the gays why they got what they got, because they fought for it. Do I agree with all that? That's a totally different story. But the fact is, you got to give it up to the gays. They fought for what they wanted, and they got it. When this vote was coming up about this case, Sharpton didn't say nothing, Farrakhan didn't say nothing, Jackson didn't say nothing. Didn't say a word. All three of those men will bring television cameras wherever they speak. They did not do it. They did not come up and say, hey, we all need to get together and go to the Supreme Court. And all three of those men should have been on one accord speaking out against what the Supreme Court was trying to do and put pressure on them to keep the Voting Rights Act the way it is. And now this has happened. Now where you at now, Farrakhan, Jackson, Sharpton? Or you gonna complain about it? You should have been out there having your foot on the ground, gathering all these brothers and sisters together to fight against this stuff that's going on. These brothers and sisters that died in the civil rights movement just for us to have the right to vote. And you gonna sit there quietly and don't do nothing? This is why we need new brothers and sisters to pop up to do these things and to speak out against these things. But you know what's sad is that black folks do not care until after it happens to them. That's sad. You have not recognized that you're not on television anymore. Have you noticed that? There are no black family shows. Ever since the 90s, ever since 2000s and on, you have disappeared. You ever noticed that black movies has disappeared in Hollywood? The last time you really saw that was in the 90s. You say nothing. But see, you say nothing because you find with the internet. Because before we really had the internet, you had to see, you know, black family shows and black movies on TV and the movies. And since you went to the internet, you see black people all the time, so it doesn't bother you. You know, you come on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, World Star, whatever website you want to look at to see what black folks are doing. And you'll see them on VH1 doing things or whatever. But actually positive shows that's showing us in a good light, or even movies about things that we deal with. You know, we don't have no Boys in the Hood type of movies anymore. How is it that we got this murdering in Chicago and not one movie has come out about Chicago? Not a one. Not a one. At all. How come they ain't got a bunch of movies showing that? What's going on in Chicago? But back in the day, John Singleton came out, Boys in the Hood, to show what was going on out there in the LA area. And it drew a big, you know, light to what was going on over there. But we don't even have that today. You know, Tyler Perry, he ain't gonna direct no movie like that. That's not him. But there's a lot of things that go on right now that we need to talk about. There's all kind of movies you can make about single mothers, what they may deal with. Show about, it's so many topics that we could talk about that would be better in movie format. Yet no one does it. You got sisters complaining they can't get roles. Viola Davis is talking about that. That all the white actresses can get roles and they can't. But yet we don't create our own stuff to do it. We want to beg and all this other stuff. This whole situation is a failure upon all of us. It shows that what one house Negro can do to destroy the people, and that's why they're extremely dangerous. And it shows the failure of the current black leadership. I'm so glad Martin Luther King and Malcolm X isn't here to see any of this. To see how far we have fallen, and to see the current leadership say or do nothing at what we fought so hard for. Now, this affects blacks and Mexicans, yes, but also it's going to affect poor whites as well, because the poor whites that vote for Democratic, they want to suppress your vote too. It's all about money and gains. Because remember, everybody who got the money can participate. That's what they want. They want the poor to not have anything. And I'm sorry, blacks and Mexicans aren't the only ones that's poor. It's whites that's poor too. I have people that I know work in social work. And they tell me that white people, they get plenty of food stamps and welfare all the time. And on Medicaid. It's not just all blacks and Mexicans doing it, like the media tried to portray that's out there. But black people, you better get your act together, because they're trying to take every right that you fought for away from you. Y'all worrying about the wrong thing. All this stuff y'all worry about, shoes and music and, you know, all this other stuff. You need to worry about your way of living here in the United States, because they're trying to destroy you. And then Mexicans will be involved too, because they don't like them either. But I don't know what y'all think about it. This is something we need to talk about. This is something that you need to think about. This is something that you need to fight about. All this bickering back and forth that y'all got going on, and y'all take all that energy y'all doing, fighting each other and demeaning and dehumanizing each other and killing each other and all this other stuff y'all like to do to each other just for fun or just because you're on some quest. You need to worry about your essential way to live in this country, because they're trying to destroy it once again. And what you going to be happy when they put your behind back in the cotton patch? That's when you're going to be happy? I don't know. Let me know. Hit me up in the comments, shoot the commentary, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Up with that hair of hers. And then this guy, she a woman. She not acting like a woman, ignoramus. Because if she was acting like a woman, she wouldn't be fighting the way she was fighting. You gonna have her kids in that kind of place? Come on, that's wrong. Then I'm gonna tell you something, black men. I'm gonna talk to you about something for a minute. Now, we talk about